Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's the SCB Steelers podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are, as always, very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And we are coming to you from the Frank Walker Law Studios. Cheers, everyone. And hope everybody's having a great night tonight. I see Jen is in the chat, Joe and Yinzer Gear. Hello, everyone. Claude is here. Great to see everybody back for our usual Thursday nighter. In just 2 weeks, we'll be live for hours and hours and hours as we roll through the draft. And it's always one of my favorite shows to look forward to every year. Just because you get to kind of roll through, see what other teams are doing, and the suspense builds and everything else. And it almost builds as though you're expecting a new child. Maybe not. And speaking of that, in case you did not see this week's little inside blitz, Scarps and his wife did welcome a brand new baby girl this week. And mom and daughter are doing very, very well. Everybody's good. And just a side note here that the little girl and her 2-year-old brother will share the same birthday. Which is something me and my half brother, we are 20 years apart to the day. My brother Jake and I, so can understand that, but everybody's good, and Scarps is hopeful to be back next week. Everybody doing well and healthy, then he'll return. But until then, it'll just be the three of us. And tonight, we will get into a little bit of TJ Watt stuff and then spend the bulk of our evening discussing the offensive prospects for the 2025 draft. And obviously, it's going to be a pretty heavy volume on quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. As you know, offensive line, tight ends, probably not something that we'll be zeroing in on in this particular draft, but you never know. We'll definitely go through those. Gentlemen, what are you drinking this evening? Ian, how about you? What are you drinking?
I was expecting Ben to just jump in. The silence is deafening.
Right.
I'm dusting off the last of my keg of Irish ale from Great Lakes Brewing. So
that's right.
There's a little bit left. You know, we're about a month out from St. Patrick's Day, so still have a little to go. But I'm expecting it'll kick, and I'll have to buy a new keg for draft night. So that's the plan.
Ooh, I like that. Perfect timing. I've got a little bit of my Tennessee sour mash whiskey from Cliff. Thank you again, Cliff. And
I'm saving mine for draft night.
Oh, okay. That's a good move too. But eventually, I just found this week. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I'll be dipping into Foggy Geezer. It's made by War Pigs Brewing. And it's a hazy India Pale Ale, which I'm a big fan of, and never had it before. But obviously, a little Black Sabbath reference there, and I'm always down for that. So we'll see. But I don't. Maybe the Ben silence was because he didn't hear us or something. I don't know. He has suddenly disappeared. But anyway, we'll get him back on here shortly. Hope everybody's doing well. 2 weeks from tonight will be the draft. And Ian, with the 21st selection in the 2025 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers will do what?
Hopefully not take a quarterback.
Fair enough. ESPN had a story out today that said the Steelers are most definitely in the market for an early round quarterback, which, okay, fine. That means either first or third, since they currently don't have a second. I'm not a fan of it. I've been on record. I'm not a fan of taking somebody there. Now, the exception being is if like Cam Ward all of a sudden like developed cooties and fell to 21, then yes, I would take him. But there's nobody else in this draft I'm taking at 21.
No. I completely agree with everything you said. That the 21st pick is not worth any of the other quarterbacks not named Cam Ward.
No.
And the best case scenario if no other quarterback has been taken at 21, is to trade down. I think trade down with someone in the top of the second round that may have passed on one of those quarterbacks, right? Because there's several quarterback needy teams at the top of the draft. In addition,
Mhm.
Tennessee, who has the number 1 pick, presumably is going to take Cam Ward.
Yeah.
You've got Cleveland, who needs a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. The Jets need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. The Saints need a quarterback. So if all 5 of those teams pass, you could maybe talk one of them into trading up to number 21 to
For
take
sure.
Shador Sanders or something like that. And I want no part of that kid. His arm is not good. His accuracy is horrible. He waits to throw until guys are college open. And the only thing he does well, I think, is puts nice touch on the ball and lets his receivers run under it.
Yeah.
But his deep ball accuracy is so bad that that's basically all he has is just to lob it up there and let his guys go get it. So,
Yeah, and I
draft talk right off the bat.
no, I know, and I waltzed us right into that. I'll say this for the kid. I think he's tough. I mean, the beating that kid took the last couple of years at Colorado, and he hung in there. He really did. So I love the toughness, but I agree with everything you said. We'll still trying to figure out where Ben has disappeared to, but anyway, we'll move on with a little bit of TJ Watt before we dive back into the draft. And look, guys, the only reason that I'm bringing this up is I didn't have this on the agenda until yesterday. And let me give you a perfect example of why people click on stories. Okay. We have written, between myself and Cliff and Dom, we've written a number of things, draft related, free agency related, Steelers, centric stuff. And it does okay. I mean, it gets a nice amount of clicks and views. But then yesterday, TJ Watt posts a social media Instagram post, with the classic peace out. All right. And
maybe it means we're trading for Tyreek Hill.
Right. I mean, people lost their minds. Absolutely lost their minds. And so I wrote an article. I said, TJ Watt, cryptic message on social media. Ian, it blew up. It blew up, the amount of people clicking on this article. And I just sit here and I bang my head thinking, and you know this because you've written way as much as now more than I have in your lifetime. There are articles that you write and it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest article I've ever written. It's thoughtful, it's opinionated, it's just everything's good, well-researched, and you get minimal views. And then you just put something out there with all of 300 words to it that took you 20 minutes, if that, and it blows up. And so that's why TJ Watt got on the agenda for tonight. And look, I Scarps, while he's being daddy daycare and stuff right now, he does post up in our Slack chat as often as he can, and he knows more people than we do, and he talks to a lot of people, and he firmly believes, as a PR guy, that you don't post things without a reason, and he's told there's a reason for that, and it's about the process of getting started with the contract.
Well, and I don't blame him. Myles Garrett got paid. A couple other guys have gotten paid. And we've talked about this when those contracts happened, that because the Steelers didn't extend TJ last year, now they're in a position where instead of paying him, the top of the market was, 28, 29, 30 million. Now the top of the market's 40 million. And they basically cost themselves $10 million a year by having to escalate up those higher contracts. And well, it looks like Ben is back.
Ben is back. All right.
Ben is back. So the Steelers put themselves in this situation, and players do have a minimal amount of leverage when they're under contract. So they will use that leverage to try and get things going.
True.
And the Steelers, as an organization, have always been an organization that has paid the players they've drafted and developed, which is what stunned me, that they made DK Metcalf the highest paid Steeler ever based on average annual value. And you better believe TJ Watt's agent was in his ear like, this guy's never played a snap for the team. You are a defensive player of the year. You've led the league in sacks multiple times. Like, you see what these other guys who are basically the same age as him are getting paid. Like Myles Garrett was in the same draft class. You see what he's getting paid?
Yeah.
You should go ask for that same amount of money. And
$1 more.
And how old is Daniil Hunter? He's 33, isn't he?
Yeah,
33?
his was just a 1 or 2 year deal though.
Right, but I mean,
deal.
Yeah.
But what
But
was it
30,
like 30?
36 and a half, and it was 1 year extension. And yeah,
So-
it was a 1 year deal, but still,
Yeah.
I mean, where's TJ's at 28? Anyway,
Mhm.
long and the short of it is this. What I heard is that he heard a rumbling that they want to re-sign him, but they don't want to pay as much as the Browns paid Myles Garrett. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not sticking around for less than what Myles got. That just doesn't make any sense.
Ben,
I'm sorry.
Did he take a bit of a? I hate to use this term, but I will. Did he take a bit of a hometown discount the last time?
I think that's not the right term. I
Right.
would use. I would say that what Myles did the last time is he.
Well, I mean
Excuse
TJ.
me.
Yeah.
TJ, yes. What Watt did the last time is he realized that it was gonna go into the season.
Yeah.
And he was just like, screw it. I just want to get ready for this year. $28 million is a lot of money. My agent says I should be insisting upon more money or more guaranteed money. One of the two. I'm gonna make all of this money. How much money do I really need? And so he just said, you know what? Screw it. I don't want the distraction. You got a deal. We'll do it. Well, this time it probably isn't going to happen. It sounds like he's like, no, man, this is my last deal. I want to get paid, at the market value, what everybody else is getting paid, the top of my position. So I think that he's looking at guys like Garrett, but also guys like Max Crosby, who got, $36 million himself on a multi-year deal.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not taking less this time. This is what I want. And I know you have the money. You can make the room. Do it. And, to Ian's point, and we talked about this today on Slack, players have got a limited amount of leverage. And Cam did the same thing when he was up for an extension. Well, if I want to play in Pittsburgh, but if that's not in the cards, I guess it's not. I'll go play someplace else. And he made it clear he was going to keep playing. TJ, same deal.
Do these guys know the history like we do in terms of the way that Dan Rooney felt, concerning Franco Harris and Rod Woodson? I mean, they have to have a little bit of knowledge that the Steelers don't want to repeat those types of mistakes.
I'm sure his agent knows. I don't think that TJ and Cam concern themselves with those kinds of things. I think that they look at it from the standpoint of purely the economics, the business side of it.
Yeah.
And go, well, this is what the market will pay and this is what I want. And I know Scarpino wants to talk about some stuff and he wasn't here tonight and he sent us some Cliff's notes, if you will. A blurb to read, but I don't think that TJ is nearing the end of his career yet. I think that guys like Hines Ward and Jerome Bettis and Ben Roethlisberger and Troy Polamalu, they all got an extra year at the end of their career for a victory tour, if you will, a victory lap.
Yeah.
Where they weren't the same player anymore, but, they were still a good player, but not a great player anymore. Just good enough to be in the NFL and continue to hang around, but not great players anymore. I mean, Hines, his last year, at the end of the season, he wasn't even a starter.
No.
I mean, he'd start the game, but then they'd pull him.
Yeah, he wouldn't last long. Yeah.
The one other thing I'll say on TJ is if the Steelers drag their feet on this, the Bengals are also in a similar position with Trey Hendrickson, who is also 31 years old. So if the whatever the Bengals sign Hendrickson to, like whoever signs first, that's going to essentially set the 31-year-old market, because you're right. Danielle Hunter for the Texans got over 35 a year on essentially a 1-year deal at 31 years old. Myles Garrett's 40 million a year. He's 30 years old, but same draft class as TJ. So, that's probably right in the range where TJ is going to be asking and where Trey Hendrickson's probably asking, considering the numbers those guys got. I mean, I could see Max Crosby being 28 years old, right? That's essentially a whole contract younger than where TJ is. But if 30-year-old guys are getting 35, 38, 40 million dollars, then that's right where TJ is going to ask, and probably what it's going to wind up as.
So Ian, let me ask you this: if he gets to be the highest paid edge rusher, maybe even defender, what would his sack totals have to look like for, let's say, the next 3 years for you to be able to say, "Yep, that was worth it"?
I mean, the considering how the market is moving right now, I mean, I would say, barring an injury, because the second half of last year he played injured and had the lowest sack total since his rookie year, other than that year that he missed a bunch of games for being injured. So I mean, I would say on a fully healthy year, I would expect 16 to 20 sacks a year from him.
Okay.
Even into, I mean, yes, that's asking him to play like John Abraham, basically, into his, late career.
Yeah.
And I mean, that guy, you look at John Abraham's career sacks, the dude was putting up double-digit sacks at like 36, 37 years old. Like, it was just ludicrous how he preserved his body. That said, if you're paying a guy that much money, you need him to produce. And it's not just the sack totals, but it's the forced fumbles, it's the tackles for loss, it's everything else that he brings. He can't have a year. He can't continue what he did the second half of the year. And like we said, he was injured. I think that played into it. But if he's going to continue to play like he did the second half of last season, then it's not going to be worth the amount that they're paying him.
And that's, I guess that's where my concern is that I'm just afraid of paying him that money and then just seeing the numbers just go,
okay, but
decline.
What's the flip side of that?
I know, Ben, and I guess
what happens when he leaves and he goes and plays for the Redskins? I was about to say the Commanders, and he puts up a 20 sack season, and the fans are fucking outraged.
Yes,
I mean there are fans that never forgave the Steelers for letting Rod Woodson leave. Nor should they have. The dude was good, and then when he moved to safety, he lengthened his career even more, and he was really good free safety. So, for the people who aren't watching this on video, I just want to, if you're just listening in, Mark's alma mater, the Western Michigan Broncos, just won the semis in the March ice fishing tournament in Michigan, whatever that is.
Ice fishing, yes. We play some pucks and we stop at center ice to do some ice fishing.
Ice fishing and drinking.
Put in our tip-ups for the pikes.
And for every 4 beers you consume while you're fishing, you get credit for half a fish.
It's a full fish for 4 beers, but to your point, yes, my beloved Broncos, who don't do much in any other sport, they're having a wonderful year. Obviously, onto the NCAA Frozen Four finals coming up on Saturday, and wouldn't it be awesome if they played Penn State? Oh man, Penn State's taking on Boston U right now, I think, in the second semifinal. So yeah, love it. And
one more quick thought on TJ before we move on. So when we talk about making him the highest paid edge rusher, there's a few different ways to skin that cat. There's total value of contract, where actually Nick Bosa at 170 million is the highest. There's total average annual value, where Myles Garrett at 40 million per year is the highest. Then there's, most fully guaranteed money, where Garrett again at like 88.8 million is the highest. So there's different ways to go about it. And last time they saw last time TJ's contract was up, what they did was, I'm pretty sure it was Garrett had a higher total contract value, but they went 1 year less on TJ's contract. So TJ had a higher average per year. So TJ could say, I'm the highest paid edge rusher in terms of average annual value of contract, but the total dollar value of his contract was not the highest in the league. So there's different ways to go about it. I think they'll probably lean the second way this time, of fewer years, but make the dollar number per year higher. But that's just my thought.
I think it's going to be the guaranteed money, because at the end of the day, it's all about the guaranteed money. So you know you're going to pay the guy a certain amount of years anyway. And I think is it 88.5 or 89.5 million that Garrett's fully guaranteed?
88.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 80s.
So it's $89 million. So they give TJ $90 million fully guaranteed. And then they work out the average annual value later, and they just figure it out based upon that structure. But they're going to give him something like that, and the full guarantee is going to be the big thing that loops it in at the end of the day. But yeah, his agent, to his credit, is going to ask for the world, because that's his job.
No argument. And let me finish the TJ Watt discussion, and I'll go to Aaron's question here. Would you guys prefer to sign him,
we don't
or
want to take Aaron's question?
Well, I have a soft spot for these Ohio people. They have so little, and
because they're dumb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ohio State people. What are you going to do? Look, what would you guys do?
You got to sign him. I mean, you got to make him a one helmet guy. It's just, it is what it is. It's how our team operates. He's a future Hall of Famer. You don't want him to go play somewhere else at the tail end of his career. You just got to pay him. It is what it is.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian will understand this point. Sorry, Mark. The Steelers,
I have no idea where he's going.
Well, that's obviously going into a contractual thing, since I don't know numbers.
It is. The Steelers they're not a bottom 10 team, but they're bottom half in terms of cash to the cap every year. Okay, which basically means this: there is a salary cap, but there are workarounds in the salary cap, and teams make room and they get above the cap every year. Okay. There are some teams that spend way over the cap. The Browns, the Cowboys, and then there are teams like the Steelers that are like 18th in cash to cap. So the Steelers actually spend under the cap if you just measure it by cash. All right, because of the way that they do their contracts out. There are teams that spend over the cap in cash every year, counting on the fact that this salary cap is going to keep accelerating, just growing and growing and growing at an incredible pace.
Right.
The long and the short of it is this. This is all you need to get from this diatribe. They can make the room to pay TJ. They could pay him $50 million a year. It wouldn't matter. The average annual value means nothing. It's all about the structure and the guarantee, and they can pay him whatever they want. Just a question of what they want to pay. And he, with his little Instagram post yesterday, is basically saying, "Listen, I'm playing hardball this time."
That's what I took. That's exactly what I took. He's not screwing around. Last time, what did they didn't even start negotiating until July. No, and if you remember, he was doing the soft holdout where he was on the sidelines at practice, and he was doing individual drills only. Right.
Yeah.
And
what did we call it? We called it at the time a hold in.
Hold in. That's right.
It's a hold in.
I know this will sound cheesy, but I'm going to say it because I believe in it. I think also what you have to factor in is the fact that young man is now a father. And I think he recognizes the fact that I have this little person that's just come into my world. I'm going to get whatever I can get because I don't know how long this train's going to keep going. Yeah. And I think that factors in, call me crazy, but I do.
All right, Mark, you got to publish Aaron's comment here. This is great.
Hold on. I'm trying to catch up with the comments here. Does okay? So Aaron is watching at home with his wife right now on YouTube, and his wife said, "Does Ben not like you? What did you do? How is it my fault?"
No, go the next
The next one
Aaron
is
comment.
yes.
And then he says, "A hold in is what I do on the ride home from Chinese food."
Well done, Aaron. Well
Now,
done.
around here, we say
Yeah.
that a hold in is what you do on the way home from Taco Bell. But either way,
It's fine.
oh my God, good stuff. All right, let's switch over to our draft talk. And look, let's start at the quarterbacks. I think we all acknowledge there's no way in God's green earth Cam Ward is going to be available. So I think he's a big arm. He's got some adaptability, movability in the pocket. I like the kid. He turns the ball over a little bit, but maybe that can get cleaned up.
The
be
thing
that as it may.
that's weird about this, Cam Ward wouldn't. He'd
Mm-mm.
probably be the fourth best quarterback next season.
You're correct.
The 26th draft.
And he probably would have been third or fourth last year.
And he's the unquestioned number one
Yes.
overall pick this year. And I'm not saying he's the best player in this draft. I don't think he is. I think Travis Hunter is. But, regardless, that dude, that just shows you how desperate teams are to get quarterbacks.
And I believe that and I'm capitalizing the I and the F here, if the Steelers do draft a quarterback, either round 1 or round 3, because we don't have a second,
please know.
Please know as well. But I think, to your point, it would illustrate exactly what you're saying, that this league, every team is desperate for a quarterback, and you're willing to spend to get it.
Is Cliff on?
Cliff's here. Yeah.
Have you guys tried this with one ice cube in it?
I have a series of 3 frozen little cubes that I had in here. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Just a little tiny bit of water, and you're just like, oh yeah, that is good.
It really brings it out.
Cliff, thank you again, man. This is really, really nice.
So let's talk about Shedeur. Okay.
Fuck you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate those sentiments. Look,
I don't want to talk about this.
Did he come in this week, or is he still yet?
Today.
He was in today. Okay.
He said that on a scale of 1 to 10, the visit was a 10. He compared Mike to his father in his coaching style.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, yeah, no.
Okay. Let me say, for just sake of argument, I'm not a big Deion Sanders fan. Number one, he played for the Dallas Cowboys, whom I hate.
Outstanding player.
Let me finish. And he played for the Niners, who I also dislike because they've always been trying to reach number 6, okay, for a long time. That said, he is a tremendous player. He's worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. I would never argue that. The way I grew up and the way he did things, very, very different. So I struggled with that. The me first versus the team mentality, that type of stuff. So I fully disclose that part of it. As far as his son goes, I will just say what Ian and I talked about in the very open, Ben, you were reconnecting and stuff, is that I appreciate the kid's toughness. But that said, I don't see enough in his game to make me say, yes, go get this guy. I just don't.
And I'm sorry, Ian, if I cut you off. He's not a first-round quarterback.
No.
He's just not. Okay. He's an okay player. He's got some moxie. He's an accurate passer in short and intermediate throws. His long ball is pretty meh.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see a long-term future with that guy. And I'm strictly evaluating him, setting aside the whole circus with his family. Just put that aside.
Yeah.
Looking at the quarterback, I don't see a guy I would take in the first round. And he's going to go in the first round because teams are desperate for quarterbacks. So, excuse me. So, Yeah, I
No,
just I don't want him. You know what? Kenny Pickett had really good intangibles, probably better intangibles than Shador. Let's be frank, he did. And he had good accuracy in the short and intermediate throws. and he fucking sucked. He was terrible. And, you know, a lot like that. This guy is not a special athlete like his father was. His father was an amazing athlete.
Yeah, there's no comparing the two.
He's not that special athlete that Dion was. And he's, you know, like I said, he's tough. He's got moxie. He's got some good intangibles. But as a quarterback, the way he throws it, I'm just no. Yeah, he's got a high completion percentage because he throws high percentage passes. He throws the easy throws. In the NFL, it ain't that easy. Everybody's good. Everyone. And those windows are tiny and you have to anticipate them and throw as soon as they start to open. You can't wait for guys to be college open. And this dude, no, I do not want him in any form or fashion. No, absolutely fucking not.
Ian, so it sounds like Ben wants Sanders at 21. Look, I think Cliff makes a good point. He had Travis Hunter to throw to. He also had Jimmy Horn Jr., I believe it was, who's probably going to be drafted in the late rounds. He did. And when I watch his film, I see a guy who I appreciate his toughness, but at the same time, I see a guy that hangs on to the ball too long, trying to make something out of nothing. And again, to your point, Ben, that is something you cannot do in the NFL. I think Ben Roethlisberger learned that early in his career. I cannot hang on to the ball too long, and I got to get rid of it.
Ben would hold on to the ball for like 7 seconds, and
he could because he would just like flick people off of it.
And it wasn't just
Shador doesn't have.
He would do that back and forth and run and shrug and throw a guy off and then throw it down the field to Heath for 30.
Right.
Because it was 3rd and 7, so why not get 30?
Of course.
Yeah. There's a big difference between Ben Roethlisberger being 6'5", 250, and Shador Sanders being 6'1", 212.
I think you're being a little kind by saying that Ben was only 250.
Okay. All right. Well.
Hey, George is in. Count George as a.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I think that Ben, his rookie year and his second year was probably about 250. That's about when it ended.
Yeah.
His last year, he was probably closer to like 285.
You know what? And I will say this about the old cowboy. He looks great. I was very worried about him when he retired. I was very worried that he was gonna balloon up, if you will, and he's taking care of himself, and I'm glad to see it. I'm glad he's, to see it.
Eating good, probably not drinking much, not having many
he drinks
beer.
on his podcast, which is just about as good as
he
ours.
has like a sip of beer. He doesn't do what
I know. He spends most. He's a talker. He's funny. Okay, now Ben, I know you aren't a big fan of Jackson Dart. And God, Ben or Ian, maybe you can do this, but
Ian,
the gentleman who tweeted that stat out today, I thought was a phenomenal stat.
Yeah,
about Dart and the fact that everything was so scripted in the Kiffin offense, and very seldom did he actually have to read a defense and stuff. And I will just say, I like some of his physical tools.
Brett Coleman.
I like him, but the fact that he is a system guy in the Kiffin system, that concerns me a great deal, Ian.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the stat was like only 14.4% or something like that. I'll say 14%.
Yeah.
Of
14.4.
Look at my memory. The 14% of his pass attempts were true drop back passes. Everything else was either a play action, an RPO, or a short screen. And that's the Kiffin offensive system. And that said, Dart is accurate with some good touch, some decent mechanics. He's got some tools, but probably needs to sit for a year. His pocket feel is not good
His
at
pocket
all.
feel is shit. It's Mason Rudolph-esque.
It's you watch him play, and it's almost like he waits until the last possible second to throw the ball, so he gets hit all the time when he's throwing, which is both hilarious and terrifying, because in the NFL, those guys are a lot bigger and faster than what he was playing in college, and he's not going to be able to take that kind of punishment. Dart in round 3 is fine. If someone takes Dart in the top 10, they're going to be looking for a new GM in 2 years, which I've seen him mock to the Jets a lot at number 7, and that's perfect for them because they look for a new GM every 2 years anyways.
Raiders.
So it's,
there's Raiders.
The Raiders. Yeah.
And then after, do you want me to run through my quarterback list?
Yeah, go ahead. We can pick them apart from there.
Okay. We've talked about Milroe a little bit because he came in for a visit too. To me, he's like Malik Willis Redux. It's big arm, athletic, but very raw and inaccurate. No touch on the ball, and he turns the ball over a ton. And he's got small hands too. So, I mean, to me, you draft Milroe, you got to sit him for a year, at least 2, before you even put him in the lineup. And that worked fine for Malik Willis, right? Malik Willis sat for a few years and then had a pretty good year last year when he had to come in reserve. Of love.
Did a very nice job.
But you can't start a guy like that in year 1. Shock from Louisville.
Is that the way you say his name? It's not Shuff.
No, it's Shock.
It's Shock.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's probably the most finished product, but he's old. I mean, he's going to turn 26 in September.
He just got his AARP card last week.
Yeah, he's older than Trevor Lawrence, who's on his second contract in the NFL now. So, I mean, that's worrisome. I mean, that just feels like Brandon Weeden all over again.
I was going to say Brandon Weeden. Well, Brandon Weeden was 29, though. That's different.
I'll tell you what. Here's what I'll say about Shock. His tape is decent.
It is. Oh, yeah.
It's not bad, but
he's got a good arm.
Yeah, the age and the injuries.
And he has good vision, but you would expect that out of a 26-year-old, right?
Like you would hope.
Expect them to be a little more finished.
When you take those older players, they're so much closer to their ceiling.
Yeah,
they're not going to get that much better. So it's really hard to say, that dude is worth a high round pick when he's this close to his ceiling. This is as good as he's going to get.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, do I really? Nah, let's just wait. Let's wait a minute. I know people are desperate for quarterbacks, like I said, and somebody will take them early because they'll be afraid that somebody will grab them after the fact.
Oh, yeah, but you're right. Somebody will snag him way early.
Shock, whatever the fuck his name is, will be a career backup.
Yeah.
And, if you want to burn a second-round pick on a career backup, be my guest. I don't.
No, and I was going to say 5th or 6th round, knowing that he might be a nice backup for me for a few years. I'd be okay with that.
Hey, if you can get him with a day 3 pick,
yes,
fine.
Yeah, yep,
fine.
Yep.
I feel like there's several guys in this class who, watching them on tape, I'm like, this guy's a day 3 pick, but because how desperate teams are for quarterbacks and how thin this quarterback class is, I'm like, I could see them sneaking into like the 3rd round and a team trying to pull the trigger and get them early. And, like Milroe and Shock or maybe Kyle McCord, Will Howard's not a 3rd round pick, but I could see someone just, falling in love with his athleticism and his size. Yes, he had a terrible combine throwing session. But the other thing with Howard, and I don't consider Howard? This, I think day 3. I'd say round 4 or 5. But
I agree.
Yes.
But is he going to go to a team in the NFL and have worse wide receivers to throw to than what he had at Ohio State? Because he has some pretty damn good receivers at Ohio State.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
wait a minute.
Damn good wide receiver.
Freak just destroyed the program. QBs are like chicks and normally don't get better looking after 29.
Hey.
I don't know. My wife's 38.
Wow.
You know what, dude? Fat Ben Roethlisberger was a damn good quarterback. Like Tubby Ben would go out and throw for 500. That looked pretty good. I gotta say.
The one
I-
other guy I do want to talk about is Kyle McCord, because if you made me pick a quarterback in this class and said, if you had to draft a quarterback, who would you take and in what round? Like, I would probably say Kyle McCord in the 4th round. If I had to take a quarterback in this class.
I think McCord's going to the 2nd.
Yeah.
And I got a 3 on him, but I think he's going in the 2nd. And it's because, again, teams always overdraft quarterbacks. They always do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And he's that dude. He's like right there in the middle. You're like, probably.
Why is he that guy for you, though, Ian?
Okay. So he's got pretty good fundamentals and mechanics. He's got a lot of boom or bust plays. He's got a gunslinger mentality. I mean, I still think he's probably a career backup, but more of a career number 2 than a career number 3, if that makes sense. He doesn't necessarily have the arm strength to make some of the throws that he attempts. Like he's got that, like, I'm going to throw this ball, but I don't have the arm to get it there.
He's got bigger balls than fucking Duck Hodges.
He does.
He does, man. That guy has got bigger fucking balls than Duck Hodges. And it's like, wow, okay.
He just chucks it. He might be the new old cowboy.
But what he has going for him is his ball placement is where he is very good. He'll lead his receivers. He'll where he puts the ball in relation to where the defenders are, where the receivers are. And McCord seemed like the kind of guy who probably, if he had one more year of college, could have really benefited. Some of those guys who like transferred late in their career and then had that 5th year as a starter in college, like Joe Burrow did that. Jaden Daniels did that, right? Like, think about Jaden Daniels 2 years ago. It was like, this guy's like not that, he's okay. He's not great. And that's kind of, to me, like where McCord is right now. The problem is with McCord, and I actually didn't know this till I started reading about him, because Aaron's going to love/hate this, because Ohio State was so good early in McCord's career. He applied for a red shirt and tried to get another year of eligibility. And the NCAA was like, no, you played too much as a young quarterback for those to count as red shirt years, because Ohio State was blowing everyone out and would put him in the second half of games. So he wasn't eligible to get that extra year. He tried to stay in college another year, so he had to come out this year. But to me, he's that guy that was kind of like, he was on that upward trajectory, that he was better at Syracuse than he was at Ohio State. And just seems like a guy who's gotten better each year. And if I had to gamble on a guy in this class, a guy who's shown consistent progression is probably a guy that I would take in the 4th round, right? Not saying I would take him on, the 1st round or the 2nd round, but if I had to gamble on someone, I'd rather take a guy like that than even Will Howard. Like, I would gamble on Will Howard on day 3.
Day 3. That's fine.
I would rather do that than take,
but not before that.
Yours reminds me so much of Mason Rudolph. He throws a moon ball. He stares down his receivers. Like, he has good touch, but he doesn't zip the ball. It's all these like lob passes, and he's so random and all over the place. So that's where I am on yours.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What was I going to mention here? The one guy that I've always been intrigued by in this class is, from a standpoint of toughness, leadership, guys want to play for him, is Riley Leonard. If the kid had a little bit more in the way of arm strength and some skills, I mean, he would obviously be valued much higher. But he's a guy that real late on day 3, I would maybe take a chance if I haven't drafted one already.
Like a 6, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you're not getting a career starter there.
No,
you might get a guy who could develop into a long-term backup, which hey, that's good too. You need that guy.
Riley Leonard's also a guy you can put in short yard situations, and he will go get you that 1 yard.
Yeah. No, and that's
got that grit and
I
toughness.
agree with that.
Yes. And obviously that makes plays, but doesn't win you big games in the NFL. Probably not. But anyway, so I think to close the quarterbacks, I don't think the Steelers take anybody on day 1 or day 2. I think the loss of the 2nd round pick is a big factor in that. Now, if they somehow recoup that, then maybe that would change my opinion. But as of right now, I only see a quarterback coming on day 3. You guys feel that way?
That would be my preference.
If it's going to be a QB in this draft, it's going to be day 3. Yeah.
They traded George Pickens for a second, and they didn't draft a wide receiver in the second round.
Well, if you take Ibuka in the first round, then that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair too.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? I'd be really happy with that, Ian. So
yeah.
Good answer.
Let's talk running backs. And again, here's
so
another.
We're taking Ashton Genty, is what you're saying.
No, I am not saying that, and I'll tell you the number one reason why, because he fumbles a lot. I don't think Mike would be real thrilled with that. Now, I'm not saying you can't take care of that kind of thing, but hey, you kind of are what you are. And when I say a lot, I mean for the amount of times he carries the ball, it's not terrible, but
fair amount.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, 12 fumbles.
I mean,
866 touches, 12 fumbles.
Yes, I believe that's what it was.
Or 660. I can't remember. It was a lot.
I mean, there's a lot to like about the young man. I mean, he's got attributes of a positive sort, literally in everything he does. I mean, he can be a power guy. He can be a speed guy. He catches the ball pretty well. My guess is he's going to go top 10. Somebody that maybe doesn't get the other guy that they wanted or had targeted, they're going to take him.
I think that the Raiders and the Saints are going to take either Genty or Dart. So I don't think either.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I don't think either one of them gets past the top 8 for that reason. Like whoever the Raiders take between those two guys, the Saints are taking the other one.
That's well put. That's kind of exactly what I was thinking, and just did not say it very well. Let's put it that way. Ian, before you run these guys down, I want to just discuss Arthur Smith's system real quick, because I think we all really respect Najee Harris a ton. We loved his effort and his willingness to play through a lot of crap. I mean, the guy never missed a game. But he was not necessarily a fit for Arthur Smith's offense. What are the Steelers looking for in a running back when it comes to this offense?
I think you need a guy that has some short area quickness, some burst to the outside that can run that outside zone.
Run that pitch.
More of a one cut runner that can run, make that one cut, hit the hole and go.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Warren has some of that. I mean, I think Jaylen Warren can be your starter, but you also need another guy in there that can back that up, because Warren, had an injury last year. Freak has a great point in the chat. You need vision, right? You need to be able to see the hole, hit the hole. And Najee's thing the last couple of years was he just looked slow at the line. He just looked like he wasn't seeing the hole and hitting the hole. And Warren, Warren was decisive. That was his best. That's his best trait, is he just hits it and goes. And if it's not there, he'll just run into the pile and go. If it's there, he'll still go and maybe break it for something. But you need that decisiveness and that vision to hit the hole and go.
So who do you have on your list there, Ian?
Yeah. So I'll start with the 2 Ohio State guys, because I know Aaron is in the chat. So Henderson obviously has that explosiveness, minimal fumbles, really great lateral movement. I like him a lot. I think he probably goes top of the second round. Same with Judkins. He has a little more power and physicality. He runs angry, man.
He's
you watch
very
Judkins
violent.
Run.
Yeah.
He is a violent runner. He just seeks out contact and runs through guys. But he's got some upside on a receiving ability too. Hampton from North Carolina, he reminds me a lot more of Najee, though. He's like a workhorse. He's got some more explosion. But
wouldn't you love to have him, though?
He gets stronger as the game goes on.
Yes.
He's another physical runner that just wants to run guys over and gets a lot of yards after contact. So
a little more speed too.
Yeah. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, physicality, yards after contact, but he's very much a straight line runner, not a lot of wiggle in his in his game. Kind of same with Scatabo from Arizona State, but Scatabo, like, you watch him play and you're like, that dude just plays like a Steeler. He's physical, he's tough, he is a decent receiver. Like, he's just a football player all around. And I would love to have Scatabo on our team, but I don't know.
He would be a cult hero, I think.
He really would be.
If he showed any success at all early on, I think he'd be a cult hero in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. Sampson from Tennessee has some really good speed and short area quickness, forces a lot of missed tackles. He was also the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, I believe, so that should count for something in that conference.
Real smart kid too, isn't he? Isn't he top of the class or something like that? Real good academically.
Yeah, ETN out of Georgia is short and thick. Like, I think he's like 5'8" or 5'9", but he's like well over 200, like 215 or something like that. Like, he's just like a bowling ball, but he's got that burst and explosiveness that can do some things. Jaden Blue out of Texas he feels like a boomer bust guy, right? Like, he's got that vision, elusiveness, burst. He's got that home run hitting ability. He had 6 receiving touchdowns, but he fumbles a lot. And so there's some, if you can nab that dude on day 3, like
day 3 guy, that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah. But if he's there in like the 5th or 6th round, like, that's worth the gamble with the explosiveness that he has too. James out of Oregon, I've got, let's see here. He did not fumble at all in his college career. Good lateral quickness and footwork. But Oregon's offensive system is always kind of tough to project just because of the way they run things.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. The one guy I'll mention too as a sleeper is DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. We had him in for a pre-draft visit.
Yep.
He can do a lot of things. So this is a really good. I don't think there's any top end running backs. Like, there's no Adrian Peterson in this class. I've seen people try and compare Genty to LaDainian Tomlinson. I'm like, I do not see it. Okay. I see a lot more Rashad Penny in Genty than I do LaDainian Tomlinson, which were both Mountain West running backs who
Rashad
ran for
Penny reference.
Yeah, remember he was at San Diego State. They were in the Mountain West. He led the nation in rushing and
kick returns, I think, too.
Yeah, but he was a first-round pick for Seattle, I think, and he bulked up a lot in Seattle and then never really did anything.
Right.
So I don't know. Genty just scares me because of the level of competition. I would much rather take one of the other guys on day 2, and I think there's a lot of running backs that are going to go in the 2nd and 3rd round, but this is a pretty good running back class in that range to go get somebody.
It is. And, I think a kid like Devin Neal out of Kansas is another possibility. He's not real fast, but he
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep. And we know how we love those guys. Are the Steelers gun shy at all from the fact that they took Najee in the 1st round and he didn't get a second contract?
Second round. Second round.
Second round?
No, Najee was 1st round. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of fucking
Pickens?
Le'Veon.
Yeah. I just, I wonder about these things and I don't know, but there's definitely been a bit of a
shouldn't they be gun shy about taking a running back in the 1st round? I mean, looking at the overall body of the NFL success rate with running backs, I've always thought it's driven, unless it's a superstar talent, like a Derrick Henry. That guy only comes along every couple of decades. Saquon, really, really great talent. Unless you've got a guy who's a tremendous talent like that, Eric Dickerson-like talent, is it worth taking that guy in the 1st round, or are you better off investing in your offensive line and the guys who make holes for those guys, like undrafted guys like Jaylen Warren, to average 5 yards a carry because there's a hole and he can run through it? I think we'd be better off. The Steelers would be better off taking a guy on day 3 or in the 3rd round who is going to be good, but not great. But behind an offensive line that can run block is going to be very effective.
So if they don't take a first-round running back, Ian, who is the guy you would, like be slamming the desk for in this case later in the draft, or as a running back?
How late? Give me a round, and
Well,
I'll give you a guy.
let's say third round, because with
Let's
no
say-
second-round pick,
Right.
I think
Okay.
the Steelers are hamstrung there because number one, we know they need a defensive lineman, we know they need a receiver, we know
Yeah.
they need a running back. So, yeah, they're
Anderson's
kind of
probably
limited.
gone in the third round.
Yeah, I would say in that case, I'm going to assume both Ohio State guys are gone. I would love to have Judkins. Judkins to me just does so many good things and
Yeah.
runs with that kind of angry mentality that the
Yeah.
Steelers love.
Yep.
He would be great, but I don't think he'll be there in the third round.
Agree.
No,
Hampton, I think, is gone from North Carolina.
100%.
Probably gone.
Hampton's like a late first round or early second.
Yeah. Hampton would be like a luxury pick for like Kansas City needs wide receivers, but for a team like Kansas City that kind of has everything else and can afford to use a first round pick on a running back.
Scatabo has a little bit of fumbling issue, doesn't he? If I remember correctly, wasn't his percentage a little higher than
it may have been a little bit higher?
It was I don't know that it was high.
Okay. I thought it was just slightly above the norm, but
yeah. I know Cliff did a profile on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was saying Cliff did a profile on Tootin from Virginia Tech too, and the Steelers had him in for a visit. So he's definitely on their radar. I think Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State also came in for a visit. So and even further,
he's a real tough evaluation.
Yeah,
because you go back to his 2023 when he was so good. That offensive line was much better, and then they dealt with a lot of injuries. 2024, he never really got going. And I don't think it's fair to just say, well, he just went from being great to sucking. So he's a hard evaluation. Could end up being a guy that just drifts off into anonymity, or he could be a guy that turns out to be really good.
Yeah. I mean, if like a Dylan Sampson or Jordan James are there in the third round, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If Scatabo or Giddens were there in the fourth round, I would love that. Like, I feel like it's all about where guys
what about
are.
Baby Etienne?
Yeah.
Well, they were at his pro day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying third round, but maybe fourth. I don't know if the Steelers are getting that late in the fourth because they're picking late in the fourth.
He could be there at that point. I mean, I've seen some people.
I like him from a versatility standpoint. I think that he's got that short area quickness that you like to have in a back that's running inside. That's me. I would like to have somebody like Scatabo, but I don't see it happening. I think he's gone before the Steelers pick. That's me.
Well, and let's not forget one other really, really important factor with the Steelers and running backs, and that is pass protection.
Yeah.
That's true.
They like guys like a Jalen Warren who will step up and deliver the blow rather than take it of the oncoming rusher. So, and to be real honest, most of these guys that I've seen are not real solid in pass protection. There's a couple that are.
Ian.
But,
yes.
I know what you're going to say, so say it.
I don't know what do you think?
What's he saying?
I don't know. Scatabo is probably pretty good at it.
Scatabo's a good. He's pretty good pass protection. He's not outstanding.
No.
Yeah, and that's basically kind of where I was going with it. Who was the guy who was really kind of.
Yeah, I will agree with the resident Buckeye Gilbert, Mr. Gilbert here. Henderson is
Henderson
extremely willing in
yeah.
pass
is
protection.
very willing at pass protection.
Yep.
But he's gone. He's gone in the second.
Yeah. You have to trade George Pickens for a second round. Or
you got to trade somebody to get a second rounder.
Or Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that's the other flip side, right? If you take the kid from South Carolina in the first round,
if you take Nick Emenwari and we throw everything, because everybody thinks they're going to go defensive line in the first round, but let's just say hypothetically, Nick Emenwari is still there, and they're just like, he's just too fucking good. We can't pass this up. We have to take him.
I wouldn't blame him.
Then what?
I wouldn't.
Then they trade Minka for a first or second round pick, a second.
I think
then
you'd have to get a second. Yeah. Well, well, here's the other question.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Emenwari is a box safety. He's not a free safety.
I've read this week just the opposite. Some people love him more as a free. They don't trust him coming downhill.
I don't know who would put him as a free safety. I wouldn't.
I don't know.
He's a hybrid linebacker safety who can run.
Yeah. To Cliff's point, they've spent a very unusual amount of time with safeties.
The dude is not a Keanu O'Neal who's a hybrid linebacker safety who couldn't run. This dude is the opposite. He can run his ass off.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like Buda Baker. He's not the same size, but same
playing style.
He's a lot bigger.
Playing style, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Let's
playing style.
Let's move over to wide receivers, and the very first thing I want to do here is Ben, you're an Arizona alumnus, and could you please tell me the correct pronunciation of the top wide receiver there from Arizona?
His
first name?
No, T-Mac.
Okay, because. That's all I know him as is T-Mac, but I honestly, and I feel awful for this. I don't know the proper pronunciation.
Shit, I don't know. T-Mac.
Yeah.
The dude doesn't watch film.
No, he said he does not watch film.
I think it's Tetaroa. And,
I think it is too.
I do not think he's the consensus number one.
Okay. Wait a minute. We have an update. Cliff is saying it is
Tetaroa. There we go. So I just said Tetaroa. So Tetaroa McMillan. T-Mac.
All right.
He's the consensus number one wide receiver if you do not play Travis Hunter at wide receiver.
Correct.
Okay. So Hunter is such a good athlete that he can play either position, and he's the best at either position. If you play him at corner, he's the best corner in this draft. If you play him at wide receiver, he's the best wide receiver in this class. Yeah. So there we go. If it's me and I take Travis Hunter, I put him at corner because I do.
And then play him occasionally at receiver.
And have him be a punt returner.
I did also, before we get too deep into the receivers, I did want to mention that Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond had a little legal problem today. I believe he turned himself in. He claims he's innocent of charges. I think it's a domestic violence thing, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's sexual assault.
Okay, that's even worse. And
this dude's got a day 2 grade.
He does
with some serious red flags.
He does. I don't see him coming to Pittsburgh.
The dude has a day 2 grade because of his serious red flags.
Right.
Just being honest. He's a first round talent, but he already had downgrades because of some red flags.
Yes.
And then this happens 2 weeks before the draft. He may go undrafted. And in terms of talent,
I think he'll get drafted, but it's not going to be early. No doubt.
In terms of talent, this guy he's very talented.
Look, Travis Hunter is not going to be in our area.
Oh God, no.
obviously
going,
phenomenal player.
he should go number 1 overall, but he's going top 5.
Right. So, T-Mac, I don't think T-Mac is a guy that we're going to pay a lot of attention to. We haven't really shown that much interest in him in the pre-draft process. Now, Matthew Golden from Texas, that's a bit of a different story.
T-Mac, my comp for T-Mac is Plexico Burress, who was a nice player.
Yeah, similar size, speed.
Not a Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
And T-Mac's going to run 2 or 3 routes and fight for 50-50 balls, and that's it. The dude doesn't watch film. He thinks he's one of these guys who can just show up on game day and ball out.
Yeah.
He's probably a wide receiver 2 in the NFL.
That's very rare in the NFL to just show up. Not too many guys can do that. You got to put the time in.
Exactly. I mean, look at AB, Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
We can talk shit about AB's off the field stuff, and even some locker room stuff where he created a lot of distraction and he was a pain in the ass. But nobody ever questioned his desire to win or his work ethic.
No.
Ever.
Nope. No, you're right, Ben. Can't argue it.
Speaking of Antonio Brown.
Oh boy.
No, in a good way.
Oh.
Burden from Missouri, watching his skill set reminds me a lot of what AB did on the field. He had some bad quarterback play, but the way he changes direction, and carries speed through his breaks, that was what AB did really well, was that he could carry speed through his breaks.
Yes.
And Luther Burden does that incredibly well.
I would not be opposed to him at all.
Burden is gone. Probably in the first, but if not in the early second.
I agree with you, Ben.
Top 5 in the second round ish, 34, 35 ish. He's gone.
Yeah, and I look, Egbuka is. I think he is.
Please, can we just fucking draft him?
Yeah, I would love him. I mean,
can we
he's
just do that?
And great human being. He possesses all the qualities you want of a to me just an excellent number 2 wide receiver.
Just draft Egbuka, and then trade away Pickens, and you get a second round pick for Pickens, and you're happy, and everything's good, and we move on.
Well,
just do it. My God.
The Higgins kid didn't Higgins from Iowa State? Isn't he in for a visit or was in for a visit?
Yeah, he's big, strong, fast, 6'4", very fluid mover. The other thing I want to mention about Matthew Golden, there was some chatter on Twitter today of people being like Matthew Golden truthers that were like, he did not actually run a 4.29 40.
They broke that down frame by frame and
right.
What a 4.37,
4.37,
which is still pretty
fast. Yeah. But yeah, that was, and you watch Golden's tape, and there are times that he does not have that 4.29. You would think could just run away from everybody, but there's times he catches the ball in the middle of the field, and everybody just swarms on him and surrounds him, and he doesn't run through them all. And you're like, if this dude's 4.29. Then
some guys are straight line fast and just don't have the wiggle. They don't have the quicks. I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah. Also from Iowa State, you mentioned Higgins, but Noel also came in for a visit. But
they both did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
He's an interesting guy too, because he's like a slot wide receiver that can go vertical. If you think back to what Doug Baldwin did in Seattle, that he would play in the slot and run those slot go routes. I kind of see some of that in Noel's game too, that he can get down the field. And in the later rounds, there's some very interesting receivers.
There really are.
It is a
lot of them right now.
It's a really great athletic class at wide receiver.
Yeah.
That isn't technically sound yet. There are fewer guys in this class that are finished products. A lot of years, there are a whole bunch of wide receivers that are just ready to go, plug and play, boom, 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 go, go, go.
Is that largely Is that largely because of the offensive systems these kids are being asked
Yeah.
to be in?
Yeah,
I think it is.
they're asked to run multiple routes, and they've got to adapt to the defense. Where now, at least this year, anyway, you got a bunch of guys that can't really do that. At least the guys at the top of the class really can't do it. And you got other guys that are further down that haven't been asked to do it. And so I wouldn't say it's difficult to project what they're going to do. They're just not finished products. But in terms of athleticism, holy shit, this is a deep class.
That Williams kid from Washington State is incredible.
It's not like a heavy class, like a top heavy class where you got these guys at the top that are like fucking amazing and everybody wants one of those guys. But all the way through, it's a really athletic class. Like it's seriously fucking impressive. You're like, wow, okay. So there's going to be a wide receiver taken by the Steelers, in my opinion, who's going to be a guy that impresses people.
Yeah, there are. I know Derek, our buddy Derek, who does a great job covering the Steelers and the draft and stuff. He really likes the kid from Stanford,
Aomanor. Yeah, he's a good route runner, but he doesn't always fight for balls in the air. Like to me, he doesn't win those battles.
Right.
And when I said Williams from Wazoo is incredible, he's still a day 2 talent. Like he's still a day 2 guy, but he can run a full route tree. He can run every route on the field. And then later on in the draft, I mean, you've got guys
away from people.
Yeah, which is also important.
Yeah, that's the dude can just run away from people.
And we have to have that. We have to find guys that can.
I would like someone like that. I would really like somebody who could just run away from people. Like, I mean, I know that
it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Martavis Bryant was a wonderful luxury to have as a 4th round pick, but can we find that dude again?
Well, the other guy we brought in, Savion Williams from TCU.
Yes.
Who I hate to make this analogy, and I'm sorry to do it.
Oh boy.
But it's watching his film is almost like watching Lima Swede. Like he's 6'4" and has an 81-inch wingspan.
Yeah.
Like think about that. There are offensive tackles that don't have an 81-inch wingspan.
Yeah.
And it's like the harder the catch, he makes it, but the easy, like if you throw him a 5-yard curl route, he's going to drop it. But if you throw him a jump ball in the end zone against 2 defensive backs, he's going to go up with one hand and pull it down. And I'm like, I can't make sense of watching his tape.
The dude can't run a hitch route and make a fucking catch.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
He can run a slant and be double covered, and it's a 50-50 ball, and he fights for it and gets it and runs away from the guys and scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Yeah, I real quick, Freak asks, is Pickens 100% staying? I don't think any of us know that. I think if there was an offer and it included a 2nd-round pick, they would take it. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Especially if it was a high 2nd-round pick.
Yep.
And I think that I personally think the way this running back class is laid out, if there's a run on running backs, wide receivers. I've had some drinks. If there's a run on wide receivers in the 1st round, George Pickens will be a very attractive trade target.
Because you're gonna have teams that don't get the receiver that they coveted.
They hoped they would get
and then they
George Pickens is available, and damn, that dude's good. He's just a pain in the ass. We can make that work.
If we needed a slot guy, the guy I really like is Restrepo from Miami.
We don't need a slot.
No, I know. I said
we
if
have
we
all
did.
The slots in the world.
I know if we did, because this would be a great year. There's some really interesting guys.
Do we have 4 slots right now, or only 3?
The whole roster slots. Well,
Scotty Miller. Let's see. We got
Calvin Austin the third.
We got Roman. We got Calvin Wilson. Who else?
I
don't know. Yeah, that's at least 3 right there already.
I have said this since we started the draft process. If there was a really good athletic tight end available, I would not hate taking him. I wouldn't. Washington is what he is. I think Freiermuth is what he is. And if there was a good athletic pass catching tight end, I would not hate taking him. And this draft isn't like great for tight ends, but it's not horrible either. And I just wanted to mention that because obviously our focus is going to be on quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers.
Jason Taylor's kid from LSU is pretty athletic, but
very,
yes,
very young and very raw. He's only 20 years old and he's coming out in this draft class.
Cliff, if Warren fell to 21 to us, absolutely you take him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, Taylor
good.
What did he weighed in at like 220, right? At the combine or something, didn't he? Am I mistaken?
He was a little thicker than that, but let me look.
Let me look.
Yeah, hang on. He's tall and skinny like his dad.
Yeah.
Okay. No, he actually
255.
6'5", 246.
Yeah.
So
he's just very raw.
Extremely.
Yeah.
But he's only 20, so like you've got years to develop.
He's long and lean, but again, to the point we were making before, like he's further away from his ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons the Steelers, quote unquote, like to get that guy for a red shirt year, is they want a guy who's going to get better into his career rather than a guy who is close to his ceiling like Brandon Weeden was when the Browns took him in the first round at 29 years old. Yeah. That was so Brownsy. It was very, very Brownsy. I loved it.
Typical Brownsy. Aaron and Slam and Sammy both made the same point. Fan and the kid from Bowling Green. I think he's got the potential to be a superstar at the NFL level.
I mean, listen,
really nice things.
The Steelers are not getting Tyler Warren, but hypothetically, if Loveland was there at 21,
okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care. Yes, you guys know I'm a best player available guy.
Yes.
But he's a better player than Freiermuth. You take him. If you do not have an established, don't get me wrong. If Nick Amawari is there and Loveland's there, you take him. You take him and worry.
Yes.
Yes.
But if Loveland is there and he is far and away the best player, you don't take a fucking defensive lineman there. You take Loveland.
I don't disagree. The only thing that worries me with Loveland is he's got a bit of a track record of some injury issues where he misses games. But again, I don't know that that's going to deter me. There's a lot of nice guys there. I mean, Helm out of Texas. He's probably a guy that
he's really well rounded. He can make catches and block a little bit too.
Yep.
On the other side though, the Haas kid
Notre Dame, Evans.
Yeah. Evans is good too. Yeah. The Haas kid out of Georgia Tech, like as a 7th round pick, he can block. Like he looks like a lineman blocking. And we don't need a blocking tight end necessarily, but
we have Darnell.
Exactly. He doesn't bring you anything as a receiver, but as a pure blocking tight end and special teams player, like somebody in this draft is going to draft the Haas kid from Georgia Tech, and they're going to get a folk hero who just goes in and mashes people and then plays special teams.
Yeah.
Are they going to draft him, or is he going to be a priority free agent signing?
I think he probably goes in like the 7th round or something like that.
Well, maybe.
Aaron, it's comments like this that I lose credibility and respectability for you, Aaron. Because everyone knows that knows that U of M is a far superior school than Ohio State. So I mean that part of it is never in question. But be that as it may, I'll let you take your shots, buddy. Any offensive linemen that we're even thinking about? I don't see it this year. Now that they signed Calvin Anderson,
I think they should consider taking an interior offensive lineman.
Like a guard center type guy,
like a guard center dude. Yes,
Yeah.
if the right person is there. I mean, they've got their backup center. They signed him already.
Yep, McCollum.
I think they should have signed another guard to challenge McCormick and compete going into camp. That would have been ideal from my standpoint.
Yeah.
Seumalo is your starter on that side for one more year, and then I think he's gone.
Agree.
So it wouldn't shock me if at some point they took a guard center dude who can grow and eventually maybe be a starter. I don't know. I want to say I like a Ramon Foster type, but Ramon was undrafted.
Right.
So,
I Sammy in the chat said something about tackle, and the reason I don't think it'll be tackle is because I think their plan is pretty clear now. You got Jones on the left, Patano on the right, and you got 100%. Kelvin Anderson as your swing.
Yeah, Sammy, their priority this year is defensive line. It's not going to be offensive line. I still think they may double dip at D line this year.
Yeah, our buddy Jamie, who's not here tonight, he was commenting on the Inside Blitz stuff I did on Tuesday, and he seems to be a big fan of Loudermilk, and I just don't get that. I mean,
Loudermilk does some things well and a lot of other things really poorly.
He's been brought back on a 1-year deal. I mean, for God's sakes, I don't even know that he makes the roster in September.
He may not, but
I don't know.
Might. He might be one of those guys who just hangs around for a while.
Right.
The dude that I think, I mean, obviously, I don't need to think it. Make or break is Leal. It's like this is it.
Yeah, and I think you made the point in our Slack chat that it's almost been kind of unfair to him because he just never really had a position.
No.
Was he a down guy? Was he an edge guy? And there were shortcomings at each, and plus the injury, so yeah, it's going to be fascinating. We'll go through a bunch more of it coming up next week in our pre-draft show, and then of course the draft show, which will be 3 hours plus, if not more.
It's usually a couple of hours.
Oh, easy, man. Easy.
By the end of that, by the time the Steelers pick, we're like, all right.
we're like the old guy I used for the promo tonight on TikTok. Drunk and enjoying every minute of it. But any final thoughts, Ian?
Yeah. Can I say one thing about the offensive line class?
Yes.
This is a really weird class.
Very weird.
You've got a lot of I don't want to call them hybrid players, but you have a lot of short-armed tackles. So, like, most of the tackle class...
You typically call those guards.
Right, exactly. I'm like, you could slide these guys into guards, but then you've got guards, like the top-end guards in the class have size that you're like, you could be a low-end rotational tackle, right? So, like, here's an example, right? Like, Tyler Booker from Alabama has, like, 34-plus inch arms, almost 35-inch arms.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that's a little short for a tackle.
That's tackle.
That's tackle-esque. That's tackle length,
about
right?
Tackle-esque.
That's right. And then, like, the presumed top tackle is Mbao from Missouri, and his arms are like 33 and a half. So I'm like, you've got a guy with like 2-inch shorter arms who's your top tackle, but then the top guard has longer arms. And so there's a lot of guys who I'm kind of like, I don't know what you are. If you're a tackle, if you're a guard, like Campbell from LSU, I think is probably the top lineman in the class, and he's played tackle there, but he should be that dude could be an all-pro guard if he plays at guard.
Exactly. And who was the guy who just retired from Dallas? Zach
Martin.
Zach Martin.
Yeah.
Notre Dame kid.
He was a tackle in college. They drafted him as a guard, stuck him at guard, and he was an all-pro every goddamn year. And that's what I see for Will Campbell. It's like, why would you want to play tackle? Just move inside and be an all-pro every year and make $20 million a year.
Well,
dude, you're set for life. Who cares?
No, I agree with you, Ben, but at the same time, I also understand that kid wants to prove he can play tackle.
He's got
and I like
33-inch arms, Mark.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
They're 2 inches too short, basically.
From a competitive standpoint, that's what the kid wants to do.
Yeah,
the kid
super
is saying,
cool.
I want to prove I can do this.
Great.
And I get that. I like
He's
it.
got
I agree with you.
arms, and he's got small
Yes,
hands.
he should
and
be T-Rex playing guard. Yes.
He's not a tackle.
No doubt about it. Freak, I appreciate you asking. I announced it at the beginning of the show. Scarps is doing great. He and his wife welcomed a newborn baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
And mom and baby are doing fantastic. Baby girl and 2-year-old son will share a birthday, both born on the same day, 2 years apart, and they're doing great. He's hoping to be here next week. I'm not going to make any promises, but he's hoping to be back. But everybody's doing awesome. So thank you again for asking. Ian, go ahead.
Oh, so where I was going with that was, you can probably find a guy in this draft. Like if you're looking for a swing kind of guard tackle, right? Like Savania from Arizona is the perfect example of this, where I'm like, he played tackle, but he could probably also play guard. And then some of those, like the mid-major guys, like there's a kid from North Dakota State. There was another kid from
that kid's they're talking top 15 for him all of a sudden.
That's
Zabel,
crazy.
Gray Zabel.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yep. Well, I mean, they love him.
Yeah, Zabel from North Dakota State, Grant from William and Mary. I'm like, those guys could play both tackle or guard, probably better at guard, but maybe could play tackle in a pinch. So it feels like there's a lot of kind of swing guys in this class that could go either way and play tackle or guard. And I feel like the success of this draft class is, and we talked about this last week with the defensive guys too, that you had guys that were tweeners between defensive linemen and edge rushers, or edge rushers and inside linebackers, like Jahad Campbell, who's the consensus got linebacker, like played some edge, played some inside. That's
why he's consensus number one, because he's got some flexibility. He can play either position,
like Micah Parsons, Yeah. So
okay, could Micah play? Yeah, I guess he could play.
Micah was an inside linebacker in college. Yeah. But like this whole draft class feels like there's a lot of those like hybrid tweener guys, and I feel like the success of this class is going to be based on teams finding the right position to play these guys in. Like you're going to draft a guy and be like, okay, we're going to play him here, and it's either going to be the right position for him or the absolutely wrong position for him, and that's going to determine the success of this class.
Absolutely.
For every team, not just the Steelers class, but like league wide.
Once again, we have carried you through 90 minutes of Pittsburgh Steelers talk. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for being here in the chat. And next week, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, but are we all supposed to have our top 32 guys in?
So every year I put together this Steel City Blitz draft board.
Right.
And we try our best to kind of emulate what we think the Steelers draft board might look like. And, we get different opinions from different people. Ben is always a best player available guy.
Yep.
I personally kind of factor team needs into it a little bit. So usually I try and publish that the week before the draft. So it's a pretty good article. Last year, actually, for our draft show, I think I had like a spreadsheet that we shared during the show where we had like our draft board up so we could kind of see who we had left available, who we all liked. So we'll put that together for the folks that participate, Aaron, Cliff, you guys, Dom. But by the way, Cliff and Dom have done a hell of a job writing these draft previews. They are kicking ass. Work. Cliff and Dom, you guys have been awesome. Way to go.
Work, terrific, outstanding draft work. Love it. And it's funny because we were at a point where I really was not planning on adding anybody. I just wanted to kind of keep chugging away, doing what we're doing. And these two came along and have been awesome. Absolutely awesome. So continue to do great work, guys. And next week we'll kind of go through what we think is going to happen. And with the full knowledge that there's still 7 more days to go until the draft, and anything can happen. That's when the trades usually start, if they're going to happen. So we'll do that and much more. I think, Ben, we will not have you next week. Is that correct?
We will not have me next week. I have something I have to do next week. So
all right. Well, good luck with that colonoscopy.
But I just want to point out that the Steelers' recent trend of shitty fucking drafts, last couple of years, I'm gonna give them a pass on because I don't know yet. Those, it's still it's TBD, right?
TBD,
but
baby.
Prior to that, the prior 10 drafts were pretty shitty because the Steelers drafted for need as opposed to drafting the best player available. And that left them in a situation where their drafts were pretty crappy. And I think they need to rethink this process. That's me.
I think it's a good point.
Quarterback. I mean, I'm just giving one example, but taking a quarterback because you have to have a quarterback and drafting Kenny fucking Pickett was a mistake. Taking a running back because you really have to have a running back in Najee Harris was fucking stupid and was a mistake. And there are lots of other examples. Terrell Edmonds, a good one.
Yep.
Trading up to take Devin Bush, that's a good one. There are lots of them, but the long and the short of it is this: the Steelers need to take the best player available, the guy who's going to have the most impact on the field. If you do not have an established Pro Bowler at a position, and that is the best player there, grab his ass. You take him.
Well, we're going to find out if that's the route that they choose to go. But we'll see you next week. Thanks everybody for being in the chat again tonight. Thanks everybody that listens and watches on your own time. As always, make sure you check out the site, steelcityblitz.com, for coverage of the Steelers. Great opinions and insight on just about everything. And hey, wait a minute. Melvin just got in. Hey, Melvin. Welcome in. And love to see you guys. Hopefully you can make it for the draft show, Melvin. And we'll duck out of here. And hopefully Casey Kasem returns next week as well. I can only imagine the material he must be collecting right about now. So,
are we doing both Thursday and Friday for the draft? We did that last year.
You know what? We did. Why the hell not?
Yes.
I see no reason not to. I don't know. Ding, ding.
It was so much fun. By the end of Friday, I was like, we have talked for like
we were
6
fried.
hours, but it was
we
so
were
much
fried,
fun.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on out of here. We'll see you guys next week. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck, and so does Ohio State.